Hello and good evening, and you're very welcome back to Around the Grounds here at Finalwhistle.ie. We are back on a Friday evening with action coming from both the SSE Airtricity Premier and First Divisions, a feast of football on this Friday night. 7 games were down for decision this evening, and we have 7 reports coming to you as well. We will start with we'll start with Premier Division action. They are back, of course, after a 2-week hiatus, and we'll start with the game at the Brandywell tonight, where Derry City, of course, were in action against Drogheda United. Watching the action for us was Rory Morrow.
Yep, 1-1 here at Brandywell Stadium. As you say, both teams' first game in 3 weeks after the break for the league. It finished 1-1 tonight. Drogheda scored late on through Dean Williams' penalty, and Derry had been 1-0 up. They went 1-0 up through Matty Smith's strike just after the half hour. And really, they should have been out of strike, which has been the story of their recent winless run. This draw tonight extends their winless run now to 7 games in the Premier Division. It's seen them slip from, obviously, their blistering start in the league. It's seen them slip down to 3rd. And tonight was much the same. Really good performance in the first half. Great tempo. Jimmy McGonigal, the league's top scorer, had lots of chances. The service was there. Gideon Porter had a really good, I don't think it was his debut, but a really good, just a young appearance, right back. Thrusting forward every opportunity, and they got the goal they deserved, really. Matty Smith with the strike. Will Patchin conducted the move. He chipped a cross in that McGonigal had a save by visiting goalkeeper Colin McCabe, and Matty Smith was there to tuck home the rebound. And the second half began, though. Derry they started to get slowly a bit more sloppy. Drogheda weren't creating much. Indeed, the chances were really coming from Derry's sloppiness, and that was punished, really. Patrick McElhaney made a poor decision, a poor foul. Joe Thompson had a difficult header that put him in a bad position, and McElhaney fouled Ryan Brennan, and Dean Williams got up and calmly converted home. The changes Rory Higgins made had an impact. James Akintunde put himself about, as he always does, but they didn't really. Jamie McGonigal, a few penalty shouts, and Jamie McGonigal hit the side netting in injury time, but Derry didn't come close to really getting a winning goal. And so the frustration mounts for them. Drogheda will take a hard-earned point home.
Perfect. Thank you, Rory, as always, for that report. Now we'll go to Oriel Park, where, of course, with Derry now dropping points tonight, Dundalk and Shamrock Rovers are both in prime positions to take 3 points and gain momentum for the latter half of the season. Watching the action from Oriel Park is Kieran Callan.
Well, it was always going to take something special to divide these two teams, and it took us till the 80th minute before Robbie Benson latching onto an absolutely exquisite pass from Lewis McCarry to score the only goal of the game, which in all truth had the pendulum swinging between both sides during the course of this match. Dundalk had the early exchanges in the early chances, but then Shamrock Rovers really took control of the game. And Rory Gaffney, he could have had his own, goal reel tonight with the amount of chances that he had on Nathan Shepherd's goal. But a combination between Nathan Shepherd defending from Mark Connolly, who was absolutely exquisite this evening, and from the Dundalk defence, it really was just all hands to the pump for Dundalk in the first half, as Shamrock Rovers really did ask questions of this Dundalk defence during the first half. The second half was a completely different game altogether, as Dundalk really took the game by the scruff of the neck and took it to Shamrock Rovers. Rovers did play very, very deep in the second half, but they broke really, really well when they had opportunities to do so. Danny.
Seems like Kieran's Wi-Fi might be causing a bit of a problem there. We might have to come back to him to maybe get the second half report there. What we'll do is we'll cut quickly and move to the game at St. Coleman's Park between Cove Ramblers and Wexford. Watching the action live from St. Coleman's Park was Sam Curtin.
Hi, Diarmuid. Well, 3 second half goals saw Wexford overcome Cove Ramblers this evening at Coleman's Park. it was a really, really scrappy first half, to be honest. Not too many chances outside of Jack Doherty, where the opening shot of the game after just a few minutes, where his shot just whistled over the Sean Barnes goal. But more on him in just a moment. Game really devoid of quality, especially in the first 45 minutes. But things got a little bit better in the second half, especially from a Wexford perspective, and he took the lead in the 53rd minute. Jack Doherty, the main man for them tonight, he created a chance by running in behind the Cove defence before giving the ball to Connor Davis, who slotted the ball into the bottom right-hand corner. Doherty was back in the midst of it again in the 74th minute. A wonderful, wonderful free kick from around at least 40 yards out, which lobbed pretty much everyone in the vicinity, really, in the box, to double the lead for the visitors. Then Ian Ryan rang the subs for the last 10 minutes or so, at the point were well and truly in the bag at that stage. And it was super sub Denny Corcoran who added his another goal to what is well over a century now at this stage. In the last 5 minutes, a neat finish to seal the third goal for Wexford, and indeed 3 points as well as they head into the game against Longford next week on a wave of momentum. As for Cove, still only one win at home this season, and they really need to get back at it now during the week as they travel to Turner's Cross for the Cork derby next week to take on Cork City. Full time here at St. Coleman's Park is Cole Ramblers 0, Wexford 3.
And that, of course, was Sam Martin reporting live from St. Coleman's Park this evening. Not in Turner's Cross as usual, but definitely he is there with us. Seem to be having some technical issues myself here. My screen seems to have froze for 2 seconds. And that's why you have webcam software. It seems to be on my screen, it's coming up that I'm not actually here, but I think my producer Bethany has said that I actually am here. If my camera would load back up. But while we're waiting on me to load up anyway, we will move over and head to Richmond Park, where St. Patrick's Athletic were against UCD, and reporting live is Matthew O'Donnell.
Yes, Dermot, St. Pat's here, UCD 1 here at Richmond Park this evening. A brace of Mount Doyle was enough to hand Pats a big 3 points. The game of poor quality has to be said, but I guess it's all about picking up points at this stage. It was Doyle who went closest on a couple of occasions in the first half, and perhaps should have taken the lead. A few kind of half chances inside the box should have been put away, but he was delivering now in the second half. UCD also went close in the first half and perhaps should have took the lead themselves right on the stroke of half time when Sean Brennan's played a lovely pass that split the St. Pat's defence. It was the ball eventually fell to Brennan, at the end of the first half, but his strike could only go straight into the hands of Joseph Lang. The game then sprung into life then 5 minutes into the second half, when Owen Doyle got on the end of a Chris Forrester cross inside the penalty area, and his header could only be panned into the back of the net by goalkeeper Cian Moore. 3 minutes later, then UCD had a sending off, shout waves away. Dara Kane was sent through. Dara Kane was sent through and was brought down by Sam Curtis just outside the penalty area, but he was only cautioned, much to the annoyance of the UCD coaching staff. And that actually led to Andy Moira and Willie O'Connor being sent off for UCD. And things went from bad for us. And 20 minutes later, when Owen Doyle got a second after putting a spot kick away after Ben McCormick was brought down the penalty area, Alex Nolan pulled one back for the visitors, but it wasn't enough to be. But for UCD, they can rue a game of missed chances. However, for Pats, they put that game behind them and look to build on and improve performances ahead of a big couple of weeks for them.
And that, of course, was Matthew O'Donnell reporting from Richmond Park this evening. I seem to be back on the screen anyway for the meantime, but we won't waste any time. We'll go back to the First Division, where Treaty United were back at the Markets Field this evening, back on Shannonside. They were taking on Athlone Town. Reporting live from the Markets Fields is Tom Clancy.
Yeah, good evening, Diarmuid. It is just finished here at the Markets Field in Limerick, where it has finished Treaty United 2, Athlone Town 1. It was a fast start from the host, and the opening goal arrived in just 6 minutes when a long throw from Mark Ludden was flicked to the net by former Athlone Town striker Dean George. That his second goal since the mid-season interval, and it was Jack Lynch, captain, who scored probably the goal of the night, across the league, if I do say so, having not seen any other ones. He won a free kick just inside the Athlone half, out near the dugouts, and about 5 yards from inside the Athlone half, he unleashed a first-time drive which caught Athlone Town goalkeeper Andrew Scurbett off guard and went straight into the back of the net for 2-0. And Treaty, well, a side who hadn't won in 2 months, were in absolute dreamland after just 8 minutes, leading at bottom of the table at Athlone 2-0. But that really was as good as it got for Treaty, and they did retreat ever so slightly and allowed Athlone back into the game, as Thomas Alua, who really was a threat all night, 2 goals last week against Cove Ramblers, and he found the net here for the visitors on 20 minutes when just a bit of hesitancy in the home defence allowed him to nip in, and he finished well past Conor Wynne, and gave Athlone some hope as the contest went on. And Alua went close very early in the second half, a couple of efforts. The first was saved by Wynne, and with Wynne prone on the ground, Alua somehow from 5 or 6 yards out managed to send the ball wide, and that really would have ignited this contest entering the final 30 minutes. But there was another chance for the visitors when captain Shane Barnes hit a stunning volley, chesting the ball down on just outside the area. His volley with the right foot hitting the underside of the bar, and Conor Wynne was blessed to see the ball rebounding back into his gloves, and he was managed to get the ball away to safety, and Treaty held on. They did have a goal disallowed late in the contest when substitute Enda Kern, another former Athlone Town striker, he headed the ball home from a corner, but as he was heading the ball home, referee Declan Tolan deemed that the striker had pushed an Athlone defender, and Treaty were made to sweat ever so slightly in the final exchanges. But they have ended that drought. It was a number of draws and a lot of defeats in that spell for Treaty, and a first win in just shy of 2 months, and that keeps them well and truly in the promotion playoff picture. For Athlone Town, well, it's unable to add to that victory against Cove Ramblers 5-2 last week, but unable to add a second victory of the season, and they remain at the foot of the table. And then major surgery needed for Dermot Lennon, you'd feel, in the upcoming July transfer window if his side are to make anything of this season. Full time here at the Markets Field, it has ended Treaty United 2, Athlone Town 1.
And that, of course, was Tom Clancy's match report from Shannon's side this evening. I seem to be having technical issues, but I know Kieran was as well. We'll try and cut back to him now. I say the internet in Dundalk has gone haywire since the result, of course, at Oriel Park. But hopefully we can cut back to Kieran Callan to give us the second half of his match report. Pardon the pun, of course. And find out just what transpired this evening at Oriel Park.
Well, I don't know how much of that you did hear, but all I will say is that the game was very much a game of 2 halves. Shamrock Rovers really took the game to Dundalk in the first half, despite Dundalk having the more clear-cut chances, with Mark Connolly and Darragh Leahy having the big opportunities in the first half. However, it was Rory Gaffney and Richie Towell and Danny Mandrew who posed the biggest threats towards Dundalk in the first half. The second half, the pendulum seemed to have swung right in the men from Oriel Park's favour. When Dundalk really took the game to the visitors, they really pegged them back for the majority of the second half and created plenty of chances. But as Dundalk were pushing forward for that all-elusive opening goal, Shamrock Rovers broke really, really well. And Rory Gaffney and Danny Mandrew did have sights on Nathan Shepherd's goal, but to no avail, as did Richie Towell, who really should have done better from his opportunity from outside the area. As for Paul Doyle, he's really grown into the stature of the player that was expected of him at the beginning of the season. There has been a lot of talk at Oriel Park about who was going to fill that all-elusive void that was vacated by Chris Shields. The name is Paul Doyle. He has been absolutely immense in the past few games, and he had 3 to 4 chances. He loves to be taking those shots from outside of the area, as he has had luck from them earlier on this year. However, the opportunities he had didn't really test Alan Manus. But the goal that did come from the dog came in the 80th minute, when a play that started off with second half substitute Sam Bone, he played it out to Lewis McCarry, and Lewis McCarry sent in an absolutely pinpoint exquisite ball to the darting deep run from Robbie Benson, who has scored more goals against Shamrock Rovers than any other team in the SSC or Trustee League Premier Division, and he ghosted in at the back post to slam the ball past Alan Manus. There was more drama to happen. Just a couple of moments later, Ronan Finn received his second yellow card, and the Shamrock Rovers captain was sent off. He had to make the shortest of walks up the tunnel. The incident happened just right on the halfway line, and Neil Doyle gave him a second yellow card. Shamrock Rovers did have opportunities near the end of the game, but once again, Andy Boyle, Mark Connolly and Darrell Leahy and Lewis McCarry defended really, really well, along with Nathan Shepherd, with a lot of questions being made of him at the beginning of the season about goalkeeping, which was a huge question that happened last year. The Welsh under-21 international has really grown in stature, but now there is 5 points in the title race now. I'm not going to say title race, but a lot of people are starting to question it. Is it on? Is the second half of the season going to see Derry, Dundalk and Shamrock Rovers vie for the title? Only time will tell.
Only time will tell, Kieran. We mentioned it, of course, a couple of weeks back about the podcast. There was inkling that Dundalk could mount a title charge. Of course, you see tonight's result in Derry. You know, anything could happen. I believe it's only 5 points now separating the two at the top of the table, and Dundalk have a game in hand as well. So it could be a 2 point gap toward the latter half of the season. Definitely an intriguing one. But of course, that was Kieran's match report from the game at Oriel Park this evening. And we'll move on and move back into the first division, where title chasing Galway, they're in second place at the moment. Cork City, of course, aren't in action this week. They could get a big 3 points and go top of the table should they have beaten Bray Wanderers at the Carlisle grounds this evening. And reporting on the game is Con Sheehan.
Yes, Diarmuid. Galway United 5, Bray Wanderers 1. It has finished on the East Coast. A very convincing victory for John Caulfield's men, who go top of the first division until at least Cork play tomorrow night. It was an anticlimactic start in the Carlisle grounds when Galway took the lead after just 40 seconds. Quite literally, the ball was played out to Max Hemmings, and he was given all the time in the world to pick out a cross to the back post, where Galway's top scorer Stephen Walsh was waiting, and his effort trickled in straight away into the bottom corner past Michael Kelly. Bray did have some spells of possession in the first half, but the defining trend of the game really was that they misused their possession in that first period and were constantly forcing long balls and just giving Galway quick possession. And this played right into Galway's hands, who were trying to keep the ball on the deck and play out from the back. So the game really played into their hands, and it was quite a comfortable evening for them. They would get their second after 23 minutes when sloppy Bray play in the middle saw Stephen Walsh pick up on loose ends and tee up Wilson Warraroo, who blasted home past Kelly to get the second. Then into the second half, it was an unrecognisable Bray team for the first 20 minutes, thanks to some swift substitutions at half-time from Pat Devlin, two of which, Conor Knight and Darragh Lynch, made a great impact and were very lively. Darragh Lynch would be the man to get a goal back for the Seagulls after 63 minutes. A quick counter-attack saw him poke home a low-driven cross. And after this, for the next 10 minutes or so, the home crowd was reignited, and it looked like Bray were going to get right back into the game. It looked like they were en route to just turn things around and maybe get a draw. But then on 73 minutes, it was Hemmings involved again, a kind of cross-come shot. Really, it was an attempted cross, really, that deceived Michael Kelly and found its way into the net, and that knocked any spirit left in the Bray team. And then from here on, Galway just continued to add on to their tally. 78 minutes then, Walsh would reach double digits for the season when he snatched possession in the box and buried it past Kelly to make it 4-1. Then 82 minutes gone, there was another goal. Francely Lambota was brought down by Dan Blackburn, and he was brought down, and then it was Walsh who converted the penalty. No, it was Danny Hurley, who converted the penalty, and that made it 5-1 and a comfortable evening, as I said, in the end for Galway, who go top for the time being. So Galway United 5, Bray 1 in the Carlisle grounds.
And that, of course, was Con Sheehan there reporting on the 5-1 win for Galway over Bray Wanderers this evening. We finish our live action with the second of the Dublin derbies that took place this evening as Bohemians hosted Shelburne at Dalymount Park. Reporting is Sean Crosby.
Yes, well, as the host, they take all 3 points in this one. 1-0 win for Bohemians, and it didn't take them long to get that opener after just 13 minutes. Shelburne caught out, trying to play out from the back, which is a common theme in this game, and the ball fell to Dawson Devoy on the edge of the area. It was a really well struck shot from Devoy, but it seemed to catch Brendan Clark out. It squeezed past him at the near post, but nonetheless, a great finish from Devoy, his 6th of the season, to give Bohemians the lead. Shells did have a decent 10-minute spell after that. A lot of corners, a lot of good deliveries from Shane Farrell, and a few kind of half chances here and there, but they couldn't really convert anything. Clearly missing top goal scorer Sean Boyd, who was unavailable tonight through suspension. Brendan Clark was called into action right before the end of the first half, when yet again Shelburne were caught out playing out from the back, and the ball fell to Junior inside the box, but his effort was straight at Clark. And so Bowes went in at the break, a goal to the good. And the second half began with quite a bit of drama. After just 50 minutes, Shane Farrell was through on goal, looking likely he might get an equaliser for Shelburne, but was dragged to the floor by Kieran Kelly, and the Bohemians defender was given his marching orders, reducing the host to 10 men. With the man advantage, Shelburne did start to push on just a little bit, but really didn't impress that much and failed to take full advantage of it. Ty Ryan, who filled in for James Talbot in the Bowes goal today, who did have a really good game, and when he was called into action, he did produce with a good save from close range against Jad Hakiki. It would take until the final minute of normal time for Shelburne to produce another clear-cut chance. Gavin Hodgins, who came on to make his debut for the club, found himself inside the 6-yard box, and the ball just bounced up, came off his knee and clipped the bar. Really, Bohemians riding out their luck really on that one, and that was the difference really. And so Shelburne failed to get that equaliser, and the game finished 1-0 to Bowes, and that result means that they move up to 5th in the table, 2 points clear of Shelburne, and it also means that they are unbeaten this season as well against Shelburne, having won 2 and drawn 1. So full time in this one, Bohemians 1, Shelburne 0.
And that, of course, was Sean Crosby reporting there. Thanks to him and all of our reporters this evening covering the 7 games. We'll just give a run through the results from this evening, just if you have missed any of the action. Starting first with the Premier Division, St. Patrick's Athletic with a big 2-1 win over UCD. The title race takes another twist as Dundalk picked up a 1-0 win at Oriel Park this evening. Drogheda United left it late, but they managed to leave the Roy McBride Brandywell Stadium with a point and a 1-1 draw against Derry City. Bohemians, as Sean just mentioned, they're picking up a 1-0 home win in the Dublin Derby this evening over Shelburne. And moving into the First Division, Galway United were 5-1 winners over Bray Wanderers. Big statement of intent for them. Of course, Cork City played tomorrow evening. Apologies if I had said earlier that they won't be playing this week. I meant just tonight, should I say. But of course, we'll see now what happens tomorrow evening as they are away at Longford. And Wexford picked up a 3-0 win over another Cork team in the form of Cove Ramblers this evening. Wexford looking to keep on the tail of Treaty. Of course, Treaty did pick up a 2-1 win over Athlone this evening, and that keeps them fighting for a promotion place just for the next couple of weeks. Anyway, we'll take a look at the league tables, of course. But first, we'll look at the fixtures. Sligo Rovers against Finn Harps tomorrow evening, 7:45, and Longford Town against Cork City. That game coming at 7:30. We'll look at the league table, of course, a lot to go through from this evening. But we'll start, of course, there's now a 5-point gap between Dundalk and Shamrock Rovers at the top of the Premier Division table. 1 game in it, of course. Dundalk had the game in hand. A win there could see it go down to 2 places, to 2 points, should I say. Derry City remain in 3rd place. They're now 3 points behind Dundalk, while St. Pat's are slowly trying to gain ground on Derry. Of course, the hunt for European football is still alive there. Bohemians claim places, and it's still Finn Harps and UCD toward the bottom half of the table. Finn Harps will be hoping to try and get 3 points tomorrow evening to keep them away from automatic relegation. And looking at the stats, of course, starting with the goal scorers, we'll take a look at those now. Jamie McGonigal remains the top goal scorer in the division with 10 goals for the season. His teammate Will Patching, of course, on 8. Patrick Hubin on 8 as well, while it's tied down with Owen Doyle, Diamond Drew, Aidan Keena and Graham Burke all on 7 goals for the season. And looking at the clean sheet stats as well from the Premier Division, Joseph Anang remains top of the table on 9 clean sheets for the season, while Alan Manis, Nathan Shepherd, of course, picked up 1 this evening. He is on 7 so far for the season. And of course, Ty Ryan picked up his first clean sheet while he was deputising for the injured James Talbot this evening in goal for Bohemians. We'll look, of course, next to the First Division league table. Of course, I mentioned Galway are top just for the time being, of course, 2 points to the good. They are enjoying the better of it in this Friday evening. Cork City, of course, in action tomorrow. Interesting to see what way the table looks this time tomorrow evening. But as you were in terms of the remainder of the league table, Wexford and Treaty, of course, remaining just 3 points, still the 3-point lead there. but definitely a couple of interesting more weeks to come in that division. And we'll look at the statistics coming from there as well. We'll start with top goal scorers. Phoenix Patterson is now tied with Stephen Walsh after his brace this evening. Both of them are on 10 for this evening. Lewis Britton on 8 and Brendan O'Brien Whitmarsh on 7 goals for the season already. And looking at the clean sheet stats as well from that division, David Harrington remains the top netminder just by 1 over Galway's Conor Currans. Of course, Harrington is on 8, and it was 1 clean sheet for this evening, the only one coming from Moody, of course. For Wexford, the only one who managed to keep a clean sheet in the first division this evening. So that concludes all of our action, of course, from around the grounds this evening. Of course, we will be back to you with the 2 games coming tomorrow evening. Of course, with action from the Premier and the First Division. Of course, we'll be back next Friday as well. A feast of football to come. We're just over the halfway mark in both of the leagues, and definitely some more twists and turns, lots of roundabouts definitely to be overcome for the remainder half of the season. All tonight's match reports will be available on the Finalwhistle.ie website, and you can check us out on all the social media platforms as well. But until we see you next time, have a lovely rest of your Friday. Have a lovely weekend as well. And we'll be chatting to you again next time. Goodbye.